Namaskar friends, and this is lecture 4 of module 6 of the stress management course. As always, I, Dr. Shubhra Sinha, your course instructor, will take you to a tour of how family relationships other than marital relationship and parent-child relationship can be a source of stress for us and what can be done to improve this situation. Let us see what I have in this lecture. We are going to have a look over the adjustment issues with family members or in-laws. We will talk about common stresses that are experienced by people while dealing with the family members. We will try to assess the impact of such conflicts or strains over the quality of relationship that we share with each other, the consequences, and finally the management part, that is what can be done to improve the situation. So, let us begin with the adjustment issues with family members or in-laws. Maladjustment with family members or in-laws can be a big source of stress. Moreover, it has a multifaceted impact. On one hand, it may cause problem between the people who are directly involved in such strained relationship. On the other hand, such kind of disharmonious relationships can have an impact over the marital relationship, indirectly over the parent-child relationship, and also one's own work life. So, in no way can we discount the significance of such relationships and the intensity of the conflicts that can be produced or the impact that it can have on our physical, mental and work life consequences, as well as its impact on marital and parent-child relationship. So, what are the common stresses in this series? The first one is different values and expectations. It is very obvious when people from two different families, from two different cultures come together, they carry their own value system with them. Having differences is very normal, rather obvious, but when we try to discount or when we try to reject the value system of the other person and try to prove the supremacy of our own value systems, belief systems over the other, there start the problem. Similar things can happen with expectations. Obviously, the in-laws and the person which is concerned here comes from different generations, from different time frames, and their expectation from each other may differ. Instead of understanding the reason behind why the person expects these kind of things from us or from the husband or wife, if we simply try to label those expectations as irrelevant, illogical or selfish, it may create a lot of disturbance in our adjustment with the family members or in-laws. Moreover, if I try not to maintain proper communication, if I try not to tell my own perspective to them and at the same time I am not ready, I am not interested to learn more about their perspective, their opinions, why do they say certain things, why do they do certain things, I am going to aggravate this problem. So, having an open stance where I am ready to enter into a free exchange, I am ready to make others understand why I think so, why I do certain things, why I want them to do certain things, and at the same time ready to understand their viewpoint about the same thing is crucial to re-establish the adjustment between people. There can be issues related with setting up boundaries. This is relatively a new term for Indian society, boundary. However, this is very popular in Western cultures or in any other culture which is individualistic in nature. Whenever we think of an individualistic culture, their individual is of prime importance. Then individual as a fully functional entity decides a range in which he or she does not want to give entry to other people, or in simple words, these are the issues about which I would welcome suggestions and opinions from other people. Rather, there may be other issues about which I would not like to entertain any kind of judgment, opinion, suggestion, or even interference from other persons. So, this makes up my boundary, right? All the issues which are within that boundary are very personal to me, they are private, and I will not give access to everybody to those issues, nor I am going to allow others to comment upon such things, to interfere with those things and to give their suggestions without asking. Very few people will be allowed that too according to the need of the time. So, if I have a boundary which is very tight, whereas the older generation which is not really familiar with such Western ideologies, people of older generations who have not grown up with such kind of private spaces, and they fail to understand and appreciate rather the concept of boundaries, it may become a big problem, because the younger generation want to have a private space, they want their own boundaries intact and are not ready to give an access to the people of older generations inside it, whereas the people of older generations completely fail to understand the reason behind developing such boundaries. For them, in the family, everybody is dependent on each other, everybody has to do something for each other, and due to this intense interdependence that we observe within the family, this is very natural to have an opinion about each and every issue of the other person's life. So, this is somehow becomes a big factor behind the conflict and maladjustments between the person and the in-laws. Generational differences of course also contribute to the variances in values, attitudes and communication styles. The younger generation can be more free, can be more informal, which can be misunderstood by the persons of older generation as being rude, or they are behaving in an inappropriate manner, they are not following the manners, or they are getting disrespectful for the older generation, which was not actually the intention of the younger generation. Similarly, when people from older generation started telling about their life experiences or the way they dealt with the issues of their life and how successful they were in doing these kind of things, the younger generation may take it inadvertently as an effort to persuade them, to convince them, or to pressurize them to lead life in a certain manner, which is not appreciated by the younger generation. So, variances and issues related with boundaries are the big source of problem when it comes to maladjustment between the person and the other family members. As a result, the relationship becomes strained. People do not want to spend time together. People fail to appreciate each other in the appropriate times. They somehow cannot realize the actual intentions behind the words or actions of each other and get indulged in frequent misinterpretations, misunderstandings of the same. Obviously, it gives rise to a feeling of resentment towards each other, and this resentment quickly turns into conflicts and complexities towards the relationship. Obviously, this leads to emotional exhaustion, and people do not want to spend time to be with them and even to think about each other. Even thinking about each other puts the person in a vicious circle where one finds himself or herself ruminating about the things the other person have said about me, or maybe the other person has done for me which I didn't like at all. So, such ruminations, what these ruminations do, these ruminations may aggravate the negative emotions of mine towards the other person and vice versa. As a result, people involved in such strained, conflicting, negative relationship come up with various emotional complications, relationship issues and problems related to physical health. If I look at the emotional side, anxiety, depression, worry, a constant feeling of negativity like anger, frustration is quite common. Emotion exhaustion is there, and it may lead to disintegration of the family, where younger and older generation is not both the generations are not ready to stay with each other. So, disintegration of family, division of family can happen, and as the feeling of resentment grows due to the unresolved issues, due to the unmet expectations, it can cause a lot of frustration and can create a permanent kind of indifference towards each other. The relationship consequences are also there. As the conflicts escalate, they can create more severe conflicts or more number of conflict in a number of areas of one's life, and then finally disengagement with each other or distancing with each other, both physical and mental, is also common. Similarly, physical consequences include many of the psychosomatic illnesses like sleep disturbances, physical health problems such as hypertension, cardiovascular diseases or compromised immune system, hyperglycemia, asthma, frequent fatigue which is disproportionate to the work one has done. All these things are quite common. If the situation is such an important one and the consequences are so pervasive and they are so varied in variety, it is important to handle these relationships carefully. So, the coming slides will include some suggestions or some ways that can be tried to improve this situation of interpersonal conflict with family members. The first and foremost thing is to maintain an effective communication with each other. This is the key to resolve all sorts of conflicts, or at least a key to bring people into the relationship back. If we stop communicating to each other, means we are ready to sacrifice that relationship forever. Till we keep communicating to each other, it gives both parties a feel that the other person is also genuinely interested in resolving the conflict, and therefore, the process of resolution goes on. As the communication stops, it gives a signal as if I am no more interested in you or you are no more interested in me. So, let us end the relationship. So, effective communication is something very important. Then comes setting boundaries, and again telling other people about it in an assertive but respectful manner along with the explanation. If I want certain things to be a part of my personal life, if I do not want them to present for scrutiny by others, if I am not ready to entertain suggestions and opinions of others about those things, why I want to do that? What is the logic behind that? One must be respectful and sensitive while communicating such decisions to others. The other party must not feel as if the person involved in this interaction wants to them show their inferiority or incompetence to handle such issues and therefore not ready to listen to them, or simply the person wants to give them an impression that he or she completely lacks respect for them or they are not important for the person concerned. So, such kind of signaling is very bad for the future of the relationship. So, while communicating about the boundaries that one has set, one should be very careful, very respectful and very sensitive. Moreover, if there is a suggestion from the other party which seems genuine, that should not be turned down just because of one's own ego. So, the person here must be very open if he or she wants to maintain with the relationship further also. Then of course, seeking support is something wonderful. When we seek support, we are likely to get new insights into the relationship issues, into what is going on. We may get some innovative ideas to deal with the situation, or one can simply release one's own pent up emotions in a safe setting, which can re-energize the person, re-motivate the person to work on the situation since beginning. So, seeking social support is something must. This social support can also be taken from professionals if the informal support system is not enough to deal with the problem. One should not avoid the self-care part, rather engaging in activities such as exercise or meditation can improve one's own emotional well-being, thereby improving the situation also. These were some important suggestions about what can be done to bring the adjustment and harmony back into the relationships which we share with the members of our extended families or with our in-laws. One must not forget that when somebody enters into a marital relationship, it is not the person who has become our life partner is the only important stakeholder, but all others who are somehow related to person 1 or person 2 becomes significant in maintaining a congenial marital life later on. So, effort must be focused on having healthy relationships with the members of extended family as well, failing which may lead to problems not only in the family members, the relationship with the family members, but also in the marital relationship, having a long lasting impact on the person's life. Thank you very much. We have learned about the different values and expectations, communication challenges, boundary issues and generational differences that can become a potential source of a stress within family, and they can also lead to strains in physical, emotional and relationships health of the and social health of the person. We also reviewed some techniques which can be found interesting and important while dealing with such kind of strains. Here are the references and recommended readings to enhance your knowledge about these issues. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you.